did a thing. Howdy folks, I'm Kevin with Lifestyle Overland, and we have added something exciting to the fleet. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know that we are no strangers to the 4Runner platform. Our 2014 Trail Edition 4Runner that we bought new has been absolutely incredible for these past 12 years and 210,000 miles. Most of those were off-road and towing. That's severe use, lots of vibrations, lots of wear and tear, and she's done incredibly well. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know we've been having some issues with all of those efforts that she's put in for us. And well, it's time to do some TLC, but unfortunately, I don't have the facilities right now, and honestly, I don't have the time to chase all the things that we need to restore on her. She is out to pasture here on the farm, and so we've hit the easy button for right now with a fresh 2026 Toyota 4Runner TRD Off-Road Premium Edition. So let's dive in. Let me share what my first impressions are and what our plans are for this new 4Runner. All right, so right out of the gate, I want to make something clear. This isn't going to turn into a $100,000 Overland build overnight. The goal here for the next several months is to show how much fun you can have in a stock four-wheel drive. And Toyota's done an awesome job listening to us enthusiasts and adding a lot of bells and whistles to these things to make them extremely capable off-road. The entire theme of this is the Great Reset. We're going to be hitting the reset button, just like if you had a favorite video game or book or movie you rewatch over and over. We've done everything with Silver. She's had several different formats. This one is going to start over just like she did. Back to a ground tent, back to camping gear and a tote, and just having a blast. So why a new 4Runner and why now? Well, like I mentioned before, we need some time to take care of Silver, restore her, and get her back on the trail. And she's going to have a whole nother chapter of stories once we get to that point. But honestly, right now, I need to avoid downtime. I need to be running trails, sharing adventures, and there's also another exciting element to this build that I'll share a little bit later on in the video. Some of the other reasons, number one, I've been curious about the new generation. You know, I've been watching their launch. People seem to be enjoying these new 4Runners, and so it's time to dive in and give you our honest feedback on what this platform is going to be like for future adventures. And truthfully, I'm a YouTuber. That's my job. I got to have new things to keep me excited and interested in what we're doing. And to be honest with you, it's just time to move on and try some fresh things. And I want to be able to share my thoughts and feedback on this platform in case that's something you're interested in the future as well. If it wasn't for wanting to share this with you, I would just restore Silver, get her back on the trail, go out and have a great time. But you know, having a channel means a little bit different strategy. So how did this all come about? Well, if you've been watching the channel, you know I've been to several different Toyota events where I've gotten to test drive all the 4Runners and all their different trims, all the Tacomas and all their different trims, the GX 550, the LX 700H. And after all of those test drives, I shared with you guys in those videos that if I was going to buy one today, it would be the TRD Off-Road Premium Edition, and that's exactly what I went with. So why didn't I go with the TRD Pro or the Trail Hunter, which has more off-road bits and pieces out of the box? Well, the unfortunate part about those two trims is they only come in the hybrid format. And I wanted something that was non-hybrid for payload capacity and the fact that you get more storage in the rear without having that battery in the way. Not to mention the fact it's far less complex. And the same goes for the new Land Cruiser. It only comes in the hybrid version. Personally, I like the looks of the new Land Cruiser even more than the 4Runner, but the fact that you don't have the same ability to have payload and it eats up a lot of the storage in the rear, put that one on the shelf as well. By the way, Toyota, if you're interested in doing a non-hybrid Land Cruiser, I'll talk to you in a couple, 3 years. Another reason that I wanted to go with the 4Runner is because it's built in Japan. And after having experienced the quality and attention to detail that's in the 5th gen, I wanted to carry that on to the 6th gen. And let me tell you, it's probably even better than the 5th gen. The fit, the feel, the finish, all of that is spectacular. And as much as I love my Tundra built in Texas, it's not the same. It's not the same feel. It's just a little more flimsy feeling in places, especially when it comes to all the interior pieces. The fit and the finish isn't quite as dialed. I don't know what the difference is, but the Japanese factories are absolutely legendary for their quality levels. And speaking of storage and payload capacity, with a hybrid system, you lose about 6 inches of space because of the battery that sits here in this location. Not to mention the fact that it reduces your payload capacity. So if you're going to be adding a rooftop tent or awnings or a fridge or a slide, things like that, pay close attention to what your actual payload ability is going to be. Now, this is going to be a dedicated overland vehicle. If I was a commuter, if I was going to be driving something to work mostly and going on a few trips throughout the year, I would actually consider the hybrid, because to be honest with you, in traffic, having that battery assist on the takeoff makes it a more powerful and a smoother operating vehicle. But those are trade-offs that I was willing to make to be able to build this thing out down the road. Now, if you follow the channel closely, then there might be another obvious question. What about the third kid? We have a baby on the way, and we're going to be a family of 5 with a dog. So why not go with a larger platform like the GX 550, the Lexus LX 700H, or the Sequoia? Well, the simple fact of the matter is expense. They're some of the most expensive vehicles that Toyota has in their lineup. And honestly, we're in a place in life right now where it's going to be more solo adventures or father-daughter adventures while the baby gets up to speed. So what's the plan for taking the whole family out? Well, by that time, I plan to have silver restored. So we'll be doing dual rigs. And that does 2 things. That gives you a lot of reliability. So if one vehicle has an issue or if you need a winch, plus the fact that they are a smaller footprint, a smaller size. So running these tight trails here in the East is a lot easier in a 4Runner than it is in, say, my Tundra or a Sequoia or something to that effect. Now, if money was no object, I've also said my favorite out of all those is the GX 550. You can get it in a non-hybrid setup with that V6 twin turbo engine that is just fantastic. But obviously there's still some outstanding concerns on that engine format. So we'll get into the new engine tech here in just a second. And maybe you're wondering, well, why not use the Tundra that we've built? Well, I really miss the West. So the Grizz is going to get stationed out somewhere in Las Vegas so I can still get my Wild West fix and share a wide range of adventures with you guys. Oh, and if you're wondering, what about the GX 460 that's stationed in Alaska? Well, that one's sold. And I've got a huge adventure, a farewell journey with Aspen coming up in June. So I'm excited to share that with you. But she is going to a fantastic new home. So that's pretty much the logic of this purchase. It's, again, the least expensive 4Runner with all the off-road bells and whistles that we need. And I can get into this and fix silver for less than what I would have spent on a Sequoia or 550 or definitely a 700H. All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the new power plants. Toyota has gone to a lot of turbocharged and hybrid systems in the new generation Toyotas, mostly due to emission requirements. And boy, are there a lot of opinions on the track that they have taken. But let me say this, turbos have been around for 120 years. They've been on production vehicles for the past 60 years. They've been in common use for the past 25 years. The technology has come a long way. Me personally, I have always been infatuated with forced induction. I've owned 2 Volkswagen Beetles with turbos on them, and it was so much fun. And when I got the chance to put a supercharger on the Tundra, I did so, and that Magnuson has been absolutely incredible. What it allows you to do is to create a lot more power in a smaller engine format. So that reduces your weight, it gives you more power, and obviously reduces emissions so that they can meet the requirements. But I'll be honest with you, there's no reliability information out there on this. It's going to take some years, it's going to take some abuse to see what it can actually do. So I'm not going to sit here and pound a drum and say that it's the best thing since sliced bread. What I am going to tell you is I'm excited to test it and see. But at the end of the day, a turbocharger is a very simple mechanical device. So with the advancement in technology and understanding how these things work, I've got a lot of confidence that it's going to be okay. And if not, well, YouTube will love that. And that's really a big reason why I decided to buy this, is because I'd like to be on the leading edge of testing this stuff in some hard conditions to see how it does and share it with you. All right, let's talk about first impressions. Now, I actually bought this in Las Vegas, and that's thanks to some of my contacts in the Lexus and Toyota organizations who were able to give me a really good deal that made it worthwhile to fly out and drive it back. So I've spent over 2,000 miles over the course of 3 days getting to play with this thing and get familiar with it. Now, right out of the gate, compared to the 5th gen 4Runner, this thing is stable as a rock on the road. I remember when Silver was in her stock form, The body roll, the nosedive was horrendous. Now, that made for a little more plush ride on the road, but you sacrifice control. This one is a little bit more harsh, I'm going to be honest with you, and I think that's because the suspension is doing its job in keeping you stable. But for me, that was a worthy trade-off to feel more in control of the vehicle, especially when braking and braking in a curve, because boy, I can remember some nosedives in old Silver back before she had an upgraded suspension that were a little bit sketchy. And now we've finally upgraded from a 5-speed transmission to an 8-speed transmission, and it is super smooth. Now, people have a love-hate relationship with the old V6 4.0, and that was because it's sort of a dog. I mean, you had to be patient, and I was okay with that because I knew I had a reliable engine under the hood, but boy, there were some days, especially when I was towing, where I wished I had a few more horsepower. This thing right here is a different animal. I even let my buddy test drive it, who has a 5th gen 4Runner, and the first words out of his mouth was, well, I'm not going to repeat it here, but he was very impressed with what off-the-line power was like compared to his 5th gen 4Runner. And not only off the line, but at speed in traffic, I was able to pass people like they were standing still. As a matter of fact, I accidentally hit 103 miles per hour like that, and it felt like I was doing 75. So if you're looking for something that's going to navigate traffic with ease, this has got the guts now. And like I mentioned before, I'm a sucker for forced induction. So hearing that turbo whine at certain RPMs, that felt good. The nice part is it wasn't annoying like some of the trail hunters with their snorkel that's got it kind of coming out next to the passenger window. This was nice and subtle and honestly kind of felt a little bit like a sports car. Now, after 2,000 miles from Vegas back to Tennessee, running between 75 and 85 miles an hour, I had it set in eco mode, but I got 20.7 miles per gallon. That's just crazy for a 4Runner. All right, so moving inside, where I'm really excited to talk about the upgrades over the 5th gen 4Runner, which, you know, we complained about the fact that the tech was way behind compared to other production vehicles on the road. But boy, when Toyota catches up, they catch up big time. And now we got this 14-inch infotainment center up here with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which made navigation and switching through my audiobooks and my music super easy while driving down the road. The screen is gargantuan, and it does a really great job. And now we've got loads and loads of USB-C chargers. We got 2 down here, one up on the side of the infotainment center with a little shelf for your passenger to put their phone. We got some in the back as well. This particular model has a 400-watt inverter. If you go hybrid, I think it goes up to over 2,000 watts, if I remember correctly. But they've really done a great job bringing all the bells and whistles that we wish we had in the 5th gen. Like I mentioned before, the fit and the finish is on point. It's really well thought out. Everything feels solid. Everything feels like it should. It doesn't feel flimsy. It doesn't feel cheap. And after driving it for 3 days and 2,000 miles, I really began to fall in love with the layout. Now, one of my favorite features that I didn't really expect to fall in love with was the adaptive cruise and lane tracing. Now, when I was at the Toyota events, we had very limited on-road testing time, and the lane tracing felt intrusive. I'm old school and I just want to drive my vehicle, and to feel it kind of assisting and keeping it within the lines was intrusive. After a long road trip like that, it was incredible. Once you learn to kind of let it do its thing and just give small corrections, it really reduced the driver fatigue. And just as a safety reminder, it's not self-driving, but it is really nice to have a little bit of assistance. One option that I went with that I kind of somewhat regret is the sunroof. I really do enjoy having the extra ventilation and the extra experience, but being 6'3", if I'm wearing a hat and I want to sit up high to see over the hood, it does start to rub just a little bit. Not to mention the fact it's less real estate for patches to go on, but it's not insurmountable. I just lower the seat down a little bit, and with the camera system on here, I'm not worried about seeing obstacles. It's just something to note that if you are a tall person, maybe avoid the sunroof. But the honest truth is, this color is really hard to find, so when I got one that was available, sunroof is not a big deal. I really wanted this color, which is kind of counterintuitive when I tell you what we're going to do next. All right, so what's first for this build? And I use the term build lightly because, again, like I said, we're not going to do a lot. We're going to keep it mostly stock for the first several months and just have a lot of fun with a very capable vehicle out of the box. But I have partnered with Onyx Off-Road, and I am now part of their trail creator team. So I have a lot of obligations to get out and document trails so that we can put it into the app so that you can click on any trail and see what the rating is, any interesting things along the way, stuff like that. And so we're actually going to be wrapping this with the Onyx vinyl graphics, which is going to protect it from all the scratches like what Silver has. She's only been buffed out once, and I think there's more scratches than there is paint on her sides now. So I'm excited about keeping this beautiful Everest green color protected for down the road. But when I thought about wrapping Silver, it just didn't seem right. So maybe that's why she's acting up. And I am really excited about this partnership because along with the inspiration that we try to put out there for you guys, we also are big on education. And so being able to send families out in a way that they can research where they're going and understand what they're getting themselves into is a huge plus. And so I'm excited to be a part of this team. Now, the first modification that we're actually going to do is removing this grater blade up front. I think the on-road people call that a spoiler. And then we're also going to remove the steps because those are not sliders. And the first rock that they kiss, they're going to crumple. So we're going to try and maximize as much ground clearance as we can. Oh, and side note, this thing actually has 2 full recovery points up here on the front and 1 recovery point back in the back. So thanks for that, Toyota. And then I got to give a shout out to RCI Off-Road. When I hit them up and let them know that we were building another project, they said, we'll send you whatever you need. And I said, the only thing that I want right now is a roof rack. That way I can put my ground tent up top along with some traction boards, maybe a fuel can. And that's all we're going to need. It's just going to kick this off, keep it simple. This is not going to be a $100,000 build, but very slow, intentional process. So as we run up against a limitation, then we can revisit and look at what's next and show you the natural progression of what an Overland build should look like. All right, folks, well, that's going to wrap it up for me. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. What should be the next mod? What are your concerns? What are some of the things that you'd like to see this thing do? Glad to test it and give you my feedback. Until next time, remember to stay curious and leave it better than you found it.